He was like, "Hey, blood, where Warren at?" And I'm like,
"Is that Suge?"
Yeah.
You hear that? You hear that down the hallway.
I took off. Look, he came out the. I ran. I'm hitting the elevator, trying to get.
It's like that scary movie with the white girl. Like,
yeah, he caught me. He caught me at the elevator. It was me and my homeboy Cisco. He caught me at the elevator and just grabbed me and threw me on the bam. Swear to God, I told him on my mama. I told him, I said, "Look, you don't get your hands off me."
Big Boy's neighborhood, beautiful day in the neighborhood, man. Great to have this man back in the neighborhood, man. I don't even say West Coast legend. I just say legend. Warren G, welcome back to the neighborhood, bro.
What's going on,
Before we get into any legendary talk, man, did you bring any sniffing griffins with you?
Man.
I didn't bring none with me.
All right, well, this interview's over. This interview is over, man. Yeah, man.
Man, I tripped.
Right, it'd be great, lady. This ain't our last one. And I even hit up Warren. I said, Warren, do you have any sniffing griffin, like the seasoning in the car? He's like, nah, you should always carry like a little package in the car.
No, man. That was my bad on that one.
Yeah, it'd be great later, though. Or you want to postpone?
Oh, man, it's up to you.
hey, Warren, and before we get into anything that's Warren G, I remember, bro, years ago, and this is before like we really met each other. You know what I'm saying? And I remember I was waiting on you for something. It was something that we were doing. And I know we had met each other, but I was waiting. I don't know. This is back in the days before radio and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like waiting to hook up your phone. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, where this dude at? And he was like, he called me. He was like, man, yeah, I'm on my way. So I was cooking some chicken. And now I totally understand, now that we know Sniffing Griffin and how well you cook, that you wasn't going to prematurely step away from this fried chicken that you were cooking at that. You know? Had you always been a cook?
Well, I mean, just being around my friends, pretty much. Yeah, you know, I learned it like from my dad. He cook a lot and he do a lot of different recipes and stuff like that, and just being a kid and being around that in a good environment and the fun they used to have.
Hell yeah, everything that went with it.
Yeah. So it stuck with me, and I just like to do it when I'm with my friends.
The way you cook, I would think you would be fat.
I work out.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably what it is, man. Yeah. Like I look at you. I remember one time you was cooking at Dogg's, one of his events. Yeah. And I remember, man, you had the big old like smoker out there. It looked ridiculous. It looked like something that should have been in Mississippi, as big as this was. And I remember we had 8, and that was like the first time that I think you had a Sniffing Griffin. Yes. And I remember, dude, we went back to get more, but everybody devoured it. And so we were standing over the grill like, man, that little burnt part right there. Like, you know, eating the stuff that fell through. Man. But you blew our mind, brother. And you make good music and you produce well and you rap well as well. But other than that, man, the chicken and what you cook on the other end, that's what we wanted to bring you in for.
It's all good.
Yeah, to celebrate that. No, but welcome back to the neighborhood, man. No, and we just got to talk about this legacy that's Warren G. You know what I'm saying? And Warren, knowing you for so many years, man, and we got another sit down that I wanted to do with you that I just kind of wanted to pop in with you real quick was, did you grow up, was music in your household growing up? You know, like a lot of us, it was like the soundtrack of our lives.
Yeah, but it was always around me. My dad is a huge jazz guy, so he used to just sit me in the house with him all day and just play jazz all day. You know, he get his little toke on a little bit and then just have me sitting there. And his friends would come over and I'd just sit there with the headphones on all day and just listen to jazz with him. But he was also playing, you know, like the up-to-date stuff, you know, like Earth, Wind, and Fires and all those groups of stuff.
Hey, man, did you know that you were paying tuition into the School of Experience by listening? Because, like, when you listen to Warren G, you could tell that you grew up on jazz and you know, like you had different genres of music by the way that you produced. You could tell that there was a vast, you know, a lot of music in your life growing up. At that time, man, did you know that you were listening and probably listening to music different?
No, it was no. I mean, it was how can I explain it? It's a feeling type thing, man.
But that's what I'm talking about with different too. Cause like even when you said the headphones, right? We didn't have cable TV, we didn't have satellite, we didn't have streaming, we didn't have phones and devices we didn't have 1,000 things that took you away. But music always took me away. Yeah. And it was 8 of us in the household, my mom, 7 kids. So if I put on headphones, I could go anywhere. And I would listen to headphones, and I listen to music. I listen when they pan from left to right. Like, I could hear that. I used to not only read the credits, Warren, I used to look at the wax, the vinyl, and see how they would scratch certain messages into that. Like, and I read everything on an album cover. Were you that same way?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, man.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and it sets you up to what you're looking at right now.
Yes, indeed.
You know?
Yes,
Did you play any instruments early on, Warren?
Never.
Or anything? No?
Never.
You know how programs we all play like a trumpet, a flute, something they sent you home with.
I mean, I tried all of it. You know, I tried that stuff,
Yeah,
but it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But just being around my father and listening to the jazz, that was kind of like teaching me music theory without going to school. And then also being around Dre and the world-class wrecking crew and the DJing and stuff that he was doing, that also was inspiration as well.
Did you have an intrigue with DJing early?
Well, trying to be like Dre.
Yeah, because you got to think,
I didn't have no older brother. So when my father married his mother, though they became my brothers. Tyree and Andre and Mika became my sister. So it it's like I didn't have no brothers.
Did
I got
you
3
ever
sisters.
get on Dre's equipment early on, or was it a hands off? Did you have to sneak and get on equipment?
Well, yeah. He used to, be practicing in the room, and I was like, "Can you show me how to do that?" And a little kid.
You're like, hell no.
No, I mean, no, he showed me. He showed me how. But just seeing him in there practicing and mixing and stuff, it inspired me.
And how old are you around this time, Warren? When you kind of like,
I had to be about. I say about maybe 11 or 12, maybe.
And so you seeing that and you soaking up the knowledge.
Yeah.
When do you go from seeing Dre in the house DJing, knowing about this thing called, the Wrecking Crew, knowing about where you, and I'm pretty sure around that time, are we familiar? Because we're about the same age. Are we familiar with 1580 K-Day around that time?
Definitely.
So that, the mix masters, Greg Mack, you know what I'm saying? So
Traffic Jam.
Yeah, so yes. and that was one of those things that we didn't get hip hop everywhere.
Nah.
So when we had something where it was either a specialty show, but when KDAY, 1580 K-Day AM, when they locked in, that was like a home plate for us.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
so when you go from listening to jazz, seeing Dre, your brother, DJ, what made you get into the creative space?
Uncle Jam's Army and Rhodium swap meet too.
Uncle
and Paramount swap meet.
Hey man, let me tell you what Uncle Jam's Army. Roger Clayton was remember Roger Clayton, Mr. Prince, rest in peace.
Yes,
Roger
indeed.
Clayton was the first one that told me what turntables to buy. Because I wanted to be a DJ. And back then, you had like a stereo and, your equipment was funky. And I remember he said, you want to get you some Technique 1200. He said, if you don't get them now, you'll get them later. He said, get you Technique 1200s.
Yeah.
And I remember what Roger was, and I remember what Uncle Jam's Army used to sound like on produced commercials.
Yes,
and so, man, we were paying tuition, like I said, to the School of Experience. We were intrigued already, Warren, for this thing called hip-hop that when we look at the 50 years, we didn't know. We just loved what was going on at that time, bro. And it felt authentic.
Oh, yeah.
So when do you get into trying to create music?
Man.
And it had to be like some what were you on, like realistic stuff?
Well, I had
Casio keyboards.
Remember the little drum machine with the little 4.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
The little 4 circles on it. I used to mess with that, and then I had the Casio, like you said. I had 2. I didn't have no 1200s, but I had some little. I forgot what they was called. My turntables that I had, but they was just regular. Let me see. That was the realistic mixer with the vibe on it and all that. Yeah.
Were you DJing parties then? Were you known as a DJ? No.
I was just messing around trying to create.
Did you know what you were doing?
Not really. I was just practicing.
If you had to give yourself a title then, because you say you weren't DJing, if somebody said, what do you do? Would you have said, like I just mix.
Yeah, I was mixing.
But you never did any mobile DJing, like?
Well, at that age, no.
Right.
I was real young, and then, went to high school. After we got out of high school, yes. And when you mentioned Roger Clayton, he actually is one of the guys who gave us a platform for me to DJ live for people in the crowd, and that was at the Toe Jam. And he also gave Snoop a platform to let his voice go out, and people was picking up on that because everybody from Long Beach, Compton, Watts, LA used to come to the Toe Jam, and that's how a lot of our stuff spread it around.
How old were you when you and Dog met?
And
how did y'all meet?
Elementary school.
Damn.
Me and his older brother Jerry, we was both at CIS together, and Snoop's mom Beverly would walk Jerry and Snoop across the park, and we would, because CIS was right there across the street from the park, so actually we would hit the corner store for a little bit, play some asteroids, and then we'll start.
And what's
walking
Dog's
to school.
brother name at that?
Jerry.
Okay, all right.
Dirty Left.
Yeah, that's
Snoop Dogg's big brother.
I'm in my head on the lyric right now. Yeah,
that's Snoop Dogg's big brother called him Dirty Left. Yeah. And we used to walk. Beverly would walk Snoop and Jerry across the park to school, to CIS, and me and Jerry was real tight back then, and me, him, and Pookie, and we just went from CIS to Kings Park. Me and Snoop started hanging real tough at Kings Park, even though Jerry was my best friend and Snoop ended up being my best friend. But we used to be at Kings Park going to Cal State for the summer programs, free lunches, all that stuff. Yeah, and that's just how we just went through that whole young elementary school thing, all the way to Pop Warner football.
Everything that kids do around that time. Riding bikes, Pop Warner, you know what I'm saying? Going to school. We're not really driving. We walking and talking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Was he already into music at that time?
Always.
Right.
He was into music, and he was a comedian too, boy. He had bag on you all day. Yeah, all day. He used to, we got a lot of stuff that used to be on the back of the bus, and he had just tearing the whole back of the bus up, bagging on you or battling somebody.
It's crazy, man, how it's such a moment of time that we could speak on right now. And then when we see the whole picture and what y'all mean to not just hip hop, not just the genre, but what y'all mean to people. You know what I'm saying? If we were to take what and I mean, and I'm going a little quicker here though, but if we were to take you not introducing, Snoop to Dre and all that was deleted, think about how much we would have missed if it wasn't for this dude listening to jazz records, living, you know what I'm saying, seeing his older brother, dude, you don't give yourself a piece of the accolades that you deserve. And you never say it's about me and none of that. Like, we got to ask you questions to get the answer, because you never, you know what I'm saying? You never say I and me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was us and we, or you don't say nothing at all, man. So take me to Warren, where it's like, okay, now, and I remember, I don't know if you saw this interview that I did with Dog, but it's called Off Air. And Off Air with Snoop is one of the best sit downs that I've ever had with Snoop in my career, because we weren't talking about, when's the new album, when's this. We were just talking about life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
And I remember when he started speaking about you, he was like, man, he said, Warren G is my best friend. And he said that it was crazy because when he started hanging with Nate, he said early on, did you not really like Nate Dogg early on?
No, not at all. Not at all. Nate was I knew Nate, we from the neighborhood too, from King Park, like the churches and all that stuff. Nate was off a line.
Or was it Nate didn't like him?
Now, he used to just, I guess you could say, try to bully me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we grew up, but he was just like, I was like, he just kept like Warren, just fucking, just messing with him.
Right.
And he kept on to where I finally was like, you know what, what's up?
Oh, you talking about Nate?
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty.
So we didn't fight, but after that, it was like he respected me from then on. And then he got a chance to really see, what Warren really do.
Right.
And I had a nice little punch too back then. So I was, I ain't trying to brag or nothing like that, but I was putting hands on a lot of fools back then. and they'll tell you,
Right.
you know, a lot of people will tell you, I was putting hands.
Hey man, so in that interview also, man, Dog was like, man, you know, in the paraphrase, like Nate, I mean, Warren was so protective of me. He loved me so much. He said that even when his wife came aboard, he said you was kind of slow on his queen too.
Ask him how did he meet his wife.
Oh, really, Dog?
That came through Warren.
Everything came through
I
Warren.
walked right over to Shantae and I said, Shantae, my homeboy Snoop want to meet you. We was on Long Beach Boulevard over by the old hotel that was right there in McDonald's in the parking lot right there. Yeah, I think the hutch might have been tore down by then. But yeah, I introduced told her that he wanted to talk to her, and from that point on, they just stayed together and was talking and just built a relationship.
Damn.
When he used to go over there, I would go with him. I wasn't like when you protective. It was just I was protective of all of us, me, him, and Nate, just as far as how we was moving in Long Beach. You know, to try to stay out of the way of catching a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's the protective I was on, like, because I knew we had something. We just had to take time to try to get put on.
Right.
So I was, you know, even with when we was in hustling, I was like, man, we got to stop. Just stop cold turkey. Let's just get jobs and just figure it out until we could get put on.
Because
somehow.
you believed in the music.
Yes, yeah, we had a cold buzz. We had a demo tape that was moving around called "Long Beach is a Motherfucker."
Hello, title.
That was,
you know?
And I mean it blew up, and I credit DJ Quick and Richie Rich from 415 them for, you know, their inspiration, because they was both out at that time, and that's what made us do it. You know what I mean? So we said we wanted to represent for the whole Los Angeles.
You talking about like early on, like Rhodium with Quick, like?
Well, before we was put on, we called ourselves 213 because we wanted to represent for all of Los Angeles, no matter where you from, Compton, Watts. Long Beach,
and that's
Carson,
when 213 was. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like now you see, is it 727 818? Yeah. That 213 was like you didn't even have to pick up and dial. You didn't have to dial the area code.
Yeah,
it was just your home called wherever the hell you were calling.
Indeed.
So 213 is at that time it still is you,
me, Snoop, and Nate,
Nate and Snoop.
Half Dead. Let me see. Just all our homeboys that was with us was 213. It was a lot of us.
And so you go from that, man, and you say you believed in it. Even when y'all were hustling, you was like, man, we got to stop this.
Yeah.
We got to stop this because you saw the bigger picture. But talking with Dog also on off air, he didn't see the bigger picture sometimes.
I mean, we would get caught up in different waves a little bit where we was getting a little rambunctious. And actually, me and him was the only ones that didn't graduate to the penitentiary. We graduated to the county.
Right.
We went all through the county system, but we never graduated to the penitentiary. But all our homeboys,
more the JC, not the university. You like,
everybody did 10 plus. 10
yeah, man.
To the most was maybe like 30 years. Yeah. You know, but everybody is out now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we may have, I think, a couple cats still locked down, but yeah. You know, we
Dog told me this story. He said that he threw all his raps away.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was like, man, this ain't gonna happen, F it. And he said he threw them in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Did that happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go in the trash and get his raps?
Yeah. Yeah, went right in there and grabbed them. It once again, it was just like, you know, this all we have right now to try to escape out of getting killed on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we was, like I said, we was getting shot at, all kind of stuff. So this was our escape, the music. So he got tired of it because wasn't nothing happening. So he was just like, F this.
Right.
And I was like, no, I got the shit out the trash and I brought it back, and I was like, we gotta keep pushing. You know, keep pushing to just stay out of the way of these streets and follow this, you know, because we we didn't
Hey,
we done went through some close ones. I'm talking about point blank range.
I can understand where you were coming from. Like, no, we got to stay this path.
Yeah.
But I can understand where Dog was coming from too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, man, like,
I gotta get it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, man,
Yeah.
this ain't doing nothing for us. You know, and that's, I mean, that's the pros, the cons, the real and the dreams and so on and so forth. So when we look at it in hindsight, it all worked out.
Yeah.
But at that moment, it's like, man, you know, and then we about to, you know, get in relationships and people, you know, people need things and your family, and you look outside and it's like, man, like this ain't paying no bills at all. You know what I'm saying? And nothing stops. You know, how do you go from having this cassette tape that had 213 on it and getting that to your brother Dre? Because at this time Dre's moving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I hadn't seen him in a long time, so I just called out the blue, like, "What's up, man?" Just checking in, saying what's up. And, you know, he was like, "I'm doing a bachelor party for L.A. Dre, and come through." You know, so I was like, "All right, I'm gonna come through." So I linked up with my homeboy Gangster Rod and Kenny Mack. We jumped in I think it was a RX-7 back then. I was like, "Fuck it, I'll ride in the hatchback."
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I get back here.
Yeah. And we went up there, went in there. It was a nice bachelor party, a lot of beautiful women. You know, we from the hood, so we like blowed away with all the stripping. We
right.
blowed away. And they had music going, and I was like, you know, I asked L.A. Dre, can I play this tape? You know, because they was kind of, you know, playing the same stuff a little bit. So he was like, all right. So he grabbed the tape and he started playing it. And he was like, this is hard. He was like, who is this? I said, that's me and my homeboy Snoop and Nate. And he was like, did you let Andre hear this? I was like, nah, I ain't let him hear it.
So your purpose wasn't going to this party like,
no.
Man, Dre got to hear this.
No.
You just happened to have it on you.
I had it on me.
Right.
I mean, because that's what we was doing at that time.
Always.
What we used to love to do was pop it in the cassette deck when we, I said cassette deck.
Right.
What the cassette player in the car, and we just used to love to hear ourselves in the car.
Yeah, man.
So my homeboys, they loved our, you know, me and Snoop and our music, so we had it with us every time we went somewhere. So he heard it and he was like, who was this? I was like, it's me, Snoop, and Nate. And he was like, y'all come up to the studio on Monday.
Right.
And,
so Dre heard it that night?
Yeah, he heard it that
night. So
night.
you put it in. What gets his attention? He just hears it?
He heard it and was just like, you know, how he do that with his head. He was like, oh, who was this? And I was like, that's me, Snoop, and Nate.
And he hadn't met Snoop or Nate at that time?
No,
he kind of knew of him?
Snoop.
Okay.
He known Snoop for a long time.
Gotcha. Just from y'all being buddies.
Yeah. So, because we, you know, had family functions.
But he had never heard y'all like that, in that capacity?
Nah.
Right.
I used to push him. I used to tell him Snoop could rap. Like, Dre, Snoop could rap. You should listen to him. You know, because I know he was messing with artists back then. I was like, you listen to him, he dope. But he wasn't trying to hear that. Yeah, he was like, all right. He was like, oh, okay. Keep it pushing.
So what do you tell Dog after that party that night?
I went home. At that time, you know, that protective thing again. It was a lot of people that was just kind of like trying to separate us a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I was like pissed off at that. So me and him was kind of at it at that time. But I said, you know what, I'm going to be, you know, I'm not going to act stupid with Snoop. Right. Let me call his ass. So I called him and like, what's up? And he was like, what's up? I was like, I want to talk to you because Dre wants us to come to the studio on Monday. And he was just like, nigga, I ain't trying to hear that. And then, boom, he hung the phone up on me. And I called him back. I said, look, man. I said, please, let me call him on the three-way. And you talk to him, and we go from there. Right. So called him, and I was like, Andre, I got Snoop on the phone. Would you tell him that you want us to come to the studio on Monday? And he was like, this ain't Dre. And he was like, this is Dre. And then he was like, kind of like, oh, shit.
Right. Like, I ain't going to hang this one up.
Yeah. And so we hung up the phone. I went and linked up with him. We had some old English and
Right.
bud and shit, happy.
The
Because
celebration.
he want to listen to us, So the next I think that Monday, my homeboy Rump, we jumped in his car. He had a Ford something where we had to drive all the way up to Hollywood, where we get to the light, put it in park.
Yeah, man. Yeah, keep it going so the accelerator won't go down and cut off. Hell yeah.
We did that all the way to Hollywood to there.
Did you have a car at that time?
No, I didn't have a car.
Did Dog have a car?
Nope, he didn't. We didn't have no cars at that time. But once we started we went to the studio. Went up in Solar Records. Dre had a beat going, and it was hold on to your love.
Yeah, that In Vogue, that
boom,
flip.
boom, boom. But it was that, and it was the Big Payback. It was mixed together. It was hard. Yeah, it was hard, and he told Snoop to bust, and Snoop did a song in there called "This Is a Gangster's Life." That shit was fire. I don't know why that never came out.
Oh, really? So he recorded it, or he just rapped it in the room?
He recorded it.
Oh man,
they need to put that out.
So right there, did it feel like something was happening?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it was happening because Dre was like, okay, and so we went back to the hood after recording, and kept coming back and forth, and at that time it was Dre, Doc, and Suge, and they was like asking us like, what do we need? So Doc was like, what you need? I said, we need a car. So he cut a check, and I went and bought a black Monte Carlo, and it was a car for us to bring us back and forth to the studio. And then we kept working and coming back and forth. So Dre was just like, why don't y'all come up to the Valley and stay with me so y'all can get out them streets,
right? And
let's just work. So that from there.
Are y'all working on the Chronic at that time, or you don't know what you working on?
No, we just was doing music, just working, doing music, just putting it. Actually, working and working, just messing around, and then Dre and Suge came with the deep cover, soundtrack thing. So that's what set it off as far as.
How crazy was it hearing Snoop on deep cover?
Oh, I was charged up.
Yeah, because at first Snoop said he felt like he was just gonna write it, and then Dre was like, "Nah, jump on it." Yeah. So he jumps on it, and that record, that introduction to Snoop. With deep cover and and you don't stop.
Yeah.
But you already knew that Dog had that in him.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
And you saw that early on.
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like when you start to see the video and you start to hear it on the radio and you start to say, man, that's my homeboy Calvin. That's Snoopy right there.
I was pumped up and just calling everybody all over Long Beach. Listen to the radio right now. Look at the video. Go on Video Soul. Look, like telling everybody whenever it was coming on, I'd call like, listen, just listen.
Were you in place with that when it comes to like Dog and Dre? Are you in place with that? Do you know exactly where you are, or did it feel like Snoop was going by himself? Like, damn, like hold on, like because there's no contracts or nothing that's solidified, y'all. It's just homie love.
Yeah, I wasn't in place. I had to figure out my role. I could rap too, but I had to figure my role out. So I was like, I DJ. I can rap. Let me produce, and so I can provide. Have input and try to help.
Be at the table.
Yeah, with the bosses, like having my input and helping this thing be successful. So I asked Dre to show me how to work the MPC 60. And him.
The same way how years ago he showed you the turntables. Wow.
Him, Dr. Dre and Cole 187 both taught me a lot as far as the MPC 60. And Dre, he showed me, he started showing me some things for samples and stuff like that. So I started going to collect records, and he would give me like about $300, say go get some records. So I would go get the records, come bring them back. He taught me how to sample, so I would sample them and loop them and put them in there, and then I'd ask him like, what this sound like? You know what I mean? He'd be like, that's dope. And I playing a bunch of different records like boom, 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 let me ride. That was a break record.
Oh, really though?
Yep, a dub break record from I had bought that dub record from out of Torrance. It was down the street from Audio Achievements studio, and he was like, that shit is dope, but he took that motherfucker and
oh my God,
started chopping it and building that.
Hey man, that Let Me Ride is one of my that right there. Oh my God, man. So at that time, are y'all working on the Chronic, or y'all just working?
The Deep Cover blew up.
Yeah, hell yeah, it did.
So that's when that introduced us into starting to do an album, you know, but it wasn't a name. It was just, we were just doing music. One day, I remember it was a white dude came in the studio and he had this orange bud with the green, it was light green with the orange hairs on it, and he was like, this is hydroponic. You know, I don't know which one of us said it, but somebody said chronic, like hydrochronic, like, you know, say chronic.
Right.
And then that's when the Chronic name started circulating.
So there was nothing before Chronic as far as like...
We were just working, like just
I'm talking about the
music.
name, when Homeboy came in and said this is hydroponic or whatever it is.
That's how the name came about.
Chronic.
Snoop could tell you it was a white dude, because back then a lot of the white dudes
that's where you had to go.
We wasn't getting that super duper like that. And that's what...
Did somebody say Chronic on accident?
I think it was Snoop if I'm not mistaken, it was Snoop that started calling it Chronic, because the hydroponic. So somebody said, we looked at it as like, that shit is chronic.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's
damn.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how that started in there. So that what was a trip was, it was that right then and there, and then the riots jumped off. And all of that inspiration right there was what made us, what created the Chronic.
Were y'all all together at that time?
Yeah.
And when we say that, I'm talking about, man, you know, is Daz there, Corrupt there, is Lady of Rage there, is Jewel there?
Yeah, everybody was there. Corrupt had when me and Snoop met Corrupt, they battled at the Roxy. So what I did with Corrupt was I did a demo tape on him. And then I did a demo tape, and then I let I let Snoop hear it first, and then Snoop took it to Dre and Suge, and they heard Corrupt, and they was like, he dope, we want to bring him. Yeah, and then Snoop, Daz was always, he was around us, but he was just a young buck around us then. But he was rapping and things like that then, and so Daz was always around us, but he came, you know, like not too far after we brought Corrupt in, then Daz came in.
Was it all like group efforts? Now when you look back and you see business, oh, I should have signed this and I should have said this.
Shit, I wish I'd have knew about publishing back then.
Because you're just kind of throwing in ideas and we're building and everything.
Gang of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I even taught Daz how to play the drum machine. I taught him how to do the MPC 60 like they taught me.
Damn.
So he started helping as well. So like I said, I used to go get records. My homeboy DJ Money B, he had turned me on to a record store. I used to go buy a bunch of records, all the records, and then bring them to Dre, play them, sample them. Even as far as like the skit on there where it says like, you really don't understand, don't you? In order for us to make this thing work,
yes,
I really felt like that. That's how I was feeling.
Like that was like speaking for you in order for this to make us to make this work. Yeah,
yeah. So that was a skit that we used, and that was off the Mac soundtrack.
Hey man, how did Ain't No Fun come together?
I couldn't even tell you on that one.
No,
I walked in the studio. I mean that was it was a lifestyle that we was living while we was doing music. But when that record was being recorded, I had just popped in. I came to see everybody, was like, "What's up?" You know, came in, and Dre produced that record. Everybody be thinking I did Ain't No Fun. I didn't do Ain't No Fun.
I wouldn't even correct
Dre did that record.
I wouldn't even correct. I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, we did that. I did that record. No.
And I was like, shit. They was like, Warren, you got a verse.
So what are you hearing that day? Are you hearing it ain't no fun? Like, And are verses laid already?
I think Snoop verse was laid.
Okay.
I don't the hook wasn't there yet. What did I think? I mean, I just came in after Snoop. I just went off of what he was talking about.
Do you already come in the studio and hear Snoop? And did you already have, now you know, inhale, exhale with my flow? Did you already have that?
Well, that, it was kind of like a, I don't want to, I was, I can't say metaphor. I mean, Endo Smoke was popular at that time.
Mr. Grimm, Endo Smoke, hell yeah.
I took that, like to,
now,
this is that same guy that was just on Endo Smoke, so I started it off with the, woo, hey, now you know. And then, came in after that.
Did you write that there? Inhale, exhale with
everything.
My flow. So at that session, you was like writing that down.
I wrote the whole thing right then and there.
Not knowing that y'all were building an anthem.
We didn't even know it. We was just having fun doing music. Yeah.
When you say, and then like even the count off, one for, you know what I'm saying? In my Chevy, 6'4" rag to be exact. Like that right there, bro, that never will go away.
Yeah.
And when you finished that, did you know y'all had a classic, or did you just thought y'all had a hell of a record?
Just a hell of a record, just having fun, doing what we love to do. Yeah.
That's still, and I'm talking about, man, and you've seen it, bro. You've seen it on the tours, the shows that you do. There's people singing to that song that possibly weren't even born.
Yeah.
When that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of parents.
And that is forever a song you could put the mic out to for that crowd, bro.
Yeah. When I'm doing the show, I'll let them do some of the parts, because that's
leading up.
Yes. Well, the whole thing, I let them do the song. I really let them do the song with me instead of just me, doing this. I cut the record When I Met You Last Night.
Yeah. Oh,
so they singing with me. So we doing this together. We having a good time. And I tell them, I mean that shit. We having a good time, y'all.
Hey, man, partying. When they said, when I met you last night, baby.
Oh, my
goodness. Before you opened up your gap. I'm like, what the fuck?
I was like,
oh, man.
I was like, this dude is incredible.
Were you on before Nate on that record, or was Nate already on what was built up?
I was on before Nate.
Oh, my God.
I just went off of Snoop. Because it was like, it was just that like that long. We didn't say like, okay, you do a verse, hook.
Right.
We just went however the format was going. And I heard what Snoop was saying, and then boom, I came right behind him, because it was like how when we did our first demo.
Guess who's back in the motherfucking house with a fat dick for your mother. You were like, oh, that's how we doing this? You were like, okay, that's how we doing this? All right.
Yeah, because we back then we had we was we young teens, and we was had friends all over LA, everywhere, friends, and being around Dre, so we was having a good time, like meeting a lot of beautiful women. Yeah, I remember that one. I remember, I don't know, was it the show? It was one of them documentaries where homegirl was trying to get at you through the the fence. Yeah, that was the show. Yeah, that was a
what
trip.
was she saying?
She said she wanted to handcuff me and really do her thing. And I was like, I'm getting ready to hop this gate, but I couldn't do it was I had a friend with me.
Right.
And she was getting uptight. So
hey man, was it dangerous to have that much power around the world? Because we got to think, we look at each other now, we're like, oh man, we're seasoned, we're grown, we have kids, but to hand somebody the world in your early 20s, and you're already talking about smoking, fucking, and so people know what they coming for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How crazy was it to navigate through that?
It was just had to just stay. You just had to,
Your dick is tired right now, huh? just when I ask you that question. His dick like,
no,
man.
just like you just had to navigate, just had to navigate, take a break here and there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. He said take a break.
Yeah, and the music, like once again, the music with that environment, that'll lock us in. We'd be in the studio from
what is it
10,
like
11 in the
experiencing
morning
that with your friends though? Because you'll see some people that say, man, I traveled, I came back. I mean, with some people that you sat, like really giving homies rides on handlebars.
Slept on the floor.
Slept on the floor. Like, what does that look like, man, when you like, man, we're in Texas? Yeah. Or, you know what I'm saying? They playing people know us.
We was on the jet, the private jets.
Yeah, before it was a thing.
Yeah.
Now everybody, now.
Yeah.
But that had to be crazy, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. Just tripping, just like, damn, sometimes even Snoop, he'd be like, damn, G-Dub, we really in this shit. Like, we really did this shit. Like, he say that shit a lot. And,
to this day.
Yeah.
Hey, man. What and I think we had this conversation before, but just for make sure that it's there as well, man. We're building so much, taking, Snoop to Dre and being the producer, doing so much, man, 213, all the history that y'all have. And then when you get to where it's time for people to get signed to death row, why weren't you signed to death row? Because that seems like a no-brainer. Like, I brought a lot to the table. I did a lot. And of course, you're not going to say how much you did. You know what I'm saying? But you gave a lot up.
Yeah.
And when did you find out, or why weren't you signed to death row when everybody else was moving through death row?
I mean, I don't know if it was because me and Suge used to bump heads a little bit, and different things, Like, for instance, it was one incident where a constituent of mine had went and told him that I told him not to sign the contract.
Right.
Get a lawyer to look at that contract before you sign it.
But you would tell your friend anyway, though, right?
Yeah, I did. I told my friend that, and another of one of my another constituent went and said that Warren told not to sign the paperwork. So he was like, "Hey, blood, where Warren at?" And I'm like,
"Is that Suge?"
Yeah.
You hear that? You hear that down the hallway?
I took off. Look, he came out I ran, and because I'm thinking there was some stairs. I forgot the stairs was the other way. So I'm hitting the elevator, trying to get.
It's like that scary movie with the white girl. Like,
yeah, he caught me at the elevator. It was me and my homeboy Cisco. He caught me at the elevator and just grabbed me and threw me on the bam. Blood, you told them not to sign that contract? Swear to God, I told him on my mama. I said, look, you don't get your hands off me, I'm going to call my brother and I'm calling all my homeboys. And he let me go. And the guy I had with me, Cisco, he's a gunner. But, I wouldn't have wanted nothing to happen.
Right. But you knew he was.
You know what I mean? But he was a gunner.
Did you feel like you were out like then, like you knew that, like, yeah, this relationship done changed? I
mean, we was cool after that.
Right.
Even when I first met K-Dub and Trayvon, I knew Trayvon from high school. But I didn't know K-Dub. So we was on the elevator back then, getting on the elevator, and we got in, we bumped heads with him getting on the elevator. And when we got upstairs, then, they had talked to Suge, and then he came back. He was like, "Hey, Warren, hey, look, man." So it was like another incident. We family up here, and that's where it started. We ended up becoming family up there.
Right.
Really found K-Dub, Trayvon, all them. We was tight. Montreal, E-Rock, Zeke. It was Karate Rob and Pooh. It was a bunch of us. Hen Dog. It was a bunch of us. We had all became tight around that time, and they would be in the studio with us while we was doing the Chronic, having a good time, blazing, drinking, Seagram 7 and 7 Up.
Hey man, when did you find out? And I think I know the story because I think we had this conversation before. When did you find out you really weren't on death row?
Well, I was building up to the that. My bad.
Go ahead, no, do your thing.
No, I know I'm talking too much. Let me slow
No,
my
not
ass
at all,
down.
brother. This is
But when I knew I wasn't a part of it is when we was supposed to go out for the first tour, and everybody had everything in order, and I didn't have nothing. You know, I didn't have no ticket, no information, no nothing. So I packed like I'm going. I'm like, shit, I guess they gonna get my shit when I get to the airport.
Yeah.
So got to the airport, wasn't nothing happening, and they had went and did their thing, and I was pretty butthurt.
So you find out at the airport that you're not going. Who tells you that?
I didn't have a ticket. No, and I'm like, where's my ticket? You know, nothing happened. So they went out for a few weeks, doing what they was, on the road and stuff, and then so when I had a chance, I asked Dre. I was like, man, what's up? What's going on? And he just was like, man, you got to be your own man. So like, huh?
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to do.
And this is after the
like
Chronic
go or what
is signed, sealed, delivered, like the Chronic is done?
Yeah, this was all
and you're a part of it?
Yeah.
Visually, vocally, handing things in.
Yeah.
And so you have to leave the airport and watch the homies go on tour.
Yeah.
And you driving back to where you came from.
I didn't drive back. I think I rolled back I got a ride from my homegirl Samora and MC Breeze.
Damn. LA Posse Breeze?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Gave me a ride. Yeah, they gave me a ride. And after that, like I said, I asked him what was up. He's like, you just gotta get out and be your own man. But I still was coming around.
Right.
Still, I was DJing for him still after that.
Right.
I did we did the Santa Monica, that got kind of ugly up in there. But the video I'm right there in the back DJing that show for Snoop and Dre. But I just had to do what I had to do. Grab my drum machine, my MPC 60, my records, and my mixer, and went right back to my sister's house on Cedar, and was sleeping on the floor, and just digging through ideas. Finding records, still sampling and doing beats and stuff like that.
But not knowing where this is going to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that has to feel devastating.
Actually, that led up to me. That's how Endo Smoke started.
Right, Endo Smoke with Mr. Grimm.
Yeah, because I went over to the studio with Snoop and Dre and while they was working, just in there. I was coming to let them hear Mr. Grimm.
Mm-hmm. Another one that
the
you
song
found.
was Endo Smoke.
Right.
Yeah, Mr. Grimm is dope. I ain't gonna lie, that's one of the dopest fools I know. So I went to see them. Paul Stewart and John Singleton was in the studio at that time while Dre was working on a record with Snoop for the Poetic Justice soundtrack. So I came in there. I asked Paul, are you guys looking for any more music? And Paul was like, yeah. Right. I said, well, can I play this record for you?
And for those that don't know Paul Stewart, man, I mean, Far Side, Coolio, Cypress Hill, Warren G, his list goes on, and he's such a good dude, man.
Yeah.
So you and Paul go to the car, because remember I met you before radio, and I met you at Real Deal.
Yeah, well, yeah. Paul.
Yeah, man, I met you through Paul Stewart.
Yeah, and played it, and he was like, stop. He said, can I take the cassette tape?
When he told you stop, what did you think at first?
I felt kind of like,
oh shit,
like this. Here we go, or some bull. So he said, give me your number. So I said, all right. So I gave him my pager number. And I had my, I'm not sure if I had a cell phone at that time, but I did give him my pager number, and he hit me that week. And he was just like, we want this to be our first single for the Poetic Justice soundtrack. So when he told me that, even though I just went through all that other stuff with not being with them, that had really cheered me up, and I got a check.
Right.
So I was able to
much needed.
Needed, because I went and got me a car. I went and got a car, and then I just went and started buying records and getting music stuff, equipment, and just to produce. And then that introduced me to even though I knew Tupac already through MC Breed, because I had produced the You Gotta Get Yours, I Gotta Get Mine. I did that, and then that reintroduced Tupac to me again for Poetic Justice soundtrack to produce Definition of a Thug.
Damn. Hey, man, ain't that crazy, that full circle of certain things, too, though?
Yeah.
Hey, man, so when we hear Endo Smoke, right? And Endo Smoke is kind of like, you know, that's you and Grimm. You know what I'm saying? So how does Endo Smoke go from Endo Smoke to where you get a look from Def Jam?
I really didn't understand it, but Paul and John hit me like Def Jam. Well, it was a lot of records. Jive, it was a bunch of record companies chiming in and wanted to talk to me because I had produced it. So when I got around to talking,
when you look at the label for Endo Smoke, does it say Warren G or it says Mr. Grimm, right?
It say Mr. Grimm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I produced it and I wrote parts in the song, part of his stuff too. Not his whole thing now, but I wrote some parts, like some of the best parts in that song of his. I chimed the H&R Puff, the stuff in your lungs, smoking on the chronic, getting straight sprung.
Yeah.
Well, he did. We both was inputting, but I inputted on that as well. So they told me that Def Jam wanted to talk to me, and it was Tracy Waples, Chris Lighty, and Leora Cohen. And so I'm on the phone on a conference call with all of them, and they was talking about the record, like, we really like the guy, and he's dope. And I said, well, look, I said, I understand. I said, let me call Mr. Grimm and get you guys connected so you guys can talk, and, you know, so y'all can go ahead and do the business, and you guys go ahead and sign him. And they was like, who's the guy that, it was like, who's the guy that's doing the rapping on there? I said, that's Mr. Grimm. So he said, okay, yeah, that guy. He said, but it's another guy on the record, and he's rapping. And he had like this kind of like singing thing to what he was doing. I said, you mean the dude on the second verse that was doing the one, that right there? I said, that's me. Yeah. Look at him. I said, that's me. Yeah, he said, that's the guy we want right there. And I said, shit. I said, you mean y'all wanna sign me?
Right. And this is as a rapper, producing everything that go with it, but we want you. We want your vocals.
Yep. And it was Sony, it was Jive, it was all kind of companies trying to get me, and I had to think about it. Like, damn, I started looking like which one of these is the best as far as hip hop. So I started thinking, and I remembered Crush Groove, Crush Groove and B Street, and you know, just and Eric B. and Rakim, and how they used to say Def Jam and Kara Lewis and
man,
Def Jam.
the
and
names
also,
you knew.
I thought about
Probably
all that.
getting Def Jam. I'll tell you,
I thought about it. I said, I'm going with Def Jam.
Paid in full. Because that was Rakim when he was like, let's go count our money. Yeah. So those are the names you just kind of knew. And you was like, Def Jam.
Yep. And just looking at Crush Groove and LL, I was a huge fan of LL Cool J. The Fat Boys, the Beastie Boys, just all of them. I was a huge fan. So just to be a part of that because of Crush Groove, and then along with the stuff with Rakim and them, it was a wrap.
Hey man, tell me about putting together Regulate, because Regulate is another one of those songs too, Warren, that will, I mean, our kids are gonna play Regulate.
Yeah, I just was trying to be different, and wanted to try some hip hop over records like my parents used to play. So one day I went to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. There was a dude out there, like, a bum, but he had records out there. Anywhere I see some records, somebody with some records, I was like, man, can I buy some records? So he was like, yeah. So I said, how much? He was like, I think he said like $1 and something each record. So I just gave him, I think, like about $300 or $400. I took his whole
You
price.
bought everything.
I took it all.
Hella investment, huh?
Yes, indeed. And when I got back to my apartment, this was after I got my budget. I bought nothing but equipment. Got to my apartment and started going through the records. and that's when I ran across the I Keep Forgetting.
Michael McDonald.
Yeah, I was like, this is hard. So I sampled it in parts and put the record together, put the drums up under it, did some keys on it, and then I called Nate and I was like, Nate, I got this record. Can you come over to my apartment? Let's do this. I want to do a record with you like how Snoop and Dre did G Thing. Let's go back and forth.
Right.
So he came over. I played the record for him. You know, boom, 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 boom. He was like, ooh. He was like, that's hard, Warren. So I said, well, let's do a song together. Me and you back and forth. So the engineer Greg was right there. I don't know what the hell made me say it was a clear black night, a clear white moon. Warren G was on the streets trying to consume some skirts for the eve, because we were saying skirts at that time, and that was a word for women.
Yeah,
trying to find some women to catch up with, to get it cracking.
Hey man, so did you have that written already? Like, man, I know this song right here. This go perfect.
Now we did that right on the spot. I started off with that. And Nate,
so that wasn't written. It wasn't clear. That wasn't.
Nah, I swear to God, I went straight off the head with that. Yeah.
Hey man.
And then I started writing after that, just to keep it going.
Were you and Nate feeding off each other though?
Yeah. I set it off, and then he came in.
Just hit the east side of the LBC.
Yeah. And then I go off of what he said. And then he'd come back in.
And then left on 2-1. Oh my God.
And we got stuck on the hook part because we was just stuck like, what the hell are we gonna do for the hook? So we just said, you know what, it sounds so good, let's just let people take their imagination with what we were just talking about and think about what we just said.
Right.
So let's give them that imagination.
So the hook is no hook. As far as like,
no hook.
Yeah, it's not like regulate. Yeah, it's just
nah.
So it's just like Nate Dogg and Warren G had to regulate, and then you
straight music.
And and now you're thinking, until the next one come in.
Yeah. And Nate came in. I laid all them busters down. I had my glass blown.
Now putting my mind back into freak mode.
Yeah.
If you want skirts, sit back and observe.
I just left a gang of those over there on the curb.
Now Nate got the man.
And
oh my gosh.
But how the name Regulate came about, I was just tripping off of the things that Nate was doing, because he was pretty much coming to ride on the fools who was tripping on me.
Right, yeah. So
at that time, when we was around the death row era, all that stuff, when we would if it's a problem, we would be like, we gotta regulate that. Like, hey, y'all regulate that. So that was a name we were just using around our little circle. And so I said, why don't we call it Regulate? Because that's what we doing right now. I don't know how it happened, but I was looking at Young Guns, the movie Young Guns, and I was looking at that. I was a huge fan of that movie, so I used to watch it all the time. So I'm looking at the movie, and the dude say Regulators.
Yeah, Regulators. It's not about earning your keep.
No, he said we work for Mr. Tisdale as Regulators. And he said something. He said a few more words, and he said we regulate any stealing of his property. And we're damn good too. And then he says something else, and then he go down and he say, but you can't be any geek off the street. You got to be handy with the steel. You know what I mean? Earn your keep. So I chopped. I didn't. If you listen to the original how he said, you'll be like, damn. He's saying Warren just took this little bitty part here, that little bitty part,
and
there,
had it make sense.
Yeah, I made it.
And we know as soon as we hear Regulators, mount up. Like, it's
now
gone.
That part that was from when Hermelio Estevez was Regulators. Mount up.
Oh man,
Really?
Yeah.
Hey man, with you coming with something like Regulate, and I want people know Regulate now, but I want people to think there was nothing that felt like Regulate at that time.
Nah.
Did anybody tell you, man, that's not the record?
I don't even want to tell you.
Who?
I mean, because I was crushed.
Who told you it's not the record?
It's our guy.
You say
You already know.
who?
Our the good doctor. He didn't like it. He
Dre
didn't
told you that's not the record?
He didn't like it. Swear to God. I was crushed. I talked to actually I told
and he heard the Regulate we here now?
Yeah,
like he heard
it.
Regulate.
He heard it because this is watch this. So he heard it. He was like, it's all right, you know. And then when he do that, he ain't fucking with it.
Right.
He ain't messing with it. So, I asked Mike Lynn. I said, Mike, come listen to this record, man. So we went and sat in my car, listened to the record, and Mike was like, he said, that shit hard. I said, you like it? He was like, yeah. He said, let me take this. He said, can I play it for Jimmy?
Mm-hmm.
I said, hell yeah, take it. So he took it and played it for Jimmy. And
that's Jimmy Iovine.
Jimmy Iovine.
Yes,
and
sir.
Jimmy Iovine, they told Mike, they called me and said, this is going to be the first single off the Above the Rim soundtrack.
Damn. Hey, man, has Dre ever, have y'all had that conversation? Like, man, my ear was bad that day.
Nah,
I was in a bad mood. Sorry.
yeah.
Nah, we ain't never had.
Dre probably be like, man, he didn't play me that. Like,
Nah, we
did it
ain't never,
take anything? But you immediately got dude back in the car because did Dre tell you that it wasn't it, and then immediately you got validation, or did you have to walk away with it like for a week or two?
Nah,
what
that was the same night.
Oh, okay.
Because I used to go hang out. I go hang out.
Were
at the
you
studio.
crushed when you heard that? Or you just like, man, like
yeah,
Dre
I was
ain't
crushed,
hearing
but
it.
I was used to it, you know.
Right,
Because
right.
when he don't like a record, he just don't like a record.
Yeah.
It's just it is what it is. So I was like, oh shit, he don't like it. So Mike Lynn liked it, and he took it to Jimmy, and then Jimmy hit Mike back and tell Warren that we want that to be our first single. So I had to tell Def Jam, Death Row want this to be their first single, and they was kind of acting funny at first. So I said they want this to be the first single. So we made it happen to where Russell and Suge and all them talked, and we went ahead and dropped it. As
So
the first
where
single.
is Regulate? Is Regulate on Def Jam or is Regulate on?
It's on Def Jam. I was signed to Def Jam,
Yeah.
but I was a Def
Like an
Jam artist, so
Interscope?
it's a Def Jam record on Above the Rim soundtrack. You
Through
know, because I'm
Death
related
Row.
to all these
Gotcha.
guys that's over here, so it makes sense for me to they went ahead and let me do it with Death Row. And but Def Jam was so smart. What they did is they let Interscope push the whole thing to Regulate, blew it up. That whole album did like 4 million copies off that single. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
That's a hell of an investment for that $300-$400 in front of Roscoe's.
For real. And then what they did is they took the single again and resurfaced it after it died down from Above the Rim, serviced it and pushed it again as new single by Warren G, Regulate again. So it caught fire again
Hey,
for my
man,
album.
Is it crazy when you thought like, dude, I'm an artist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
quite well. When I've seen like a royalty check, which I didn't even know nothing about, I was like, because there was a lot of people getting at me like, we want to give you a publishing deal. I was like, shh, what is that?
Right.
So they was offering me like a lot of money, and it wasn't millions or nothing like that. It was like 300,000, 500,000. Back then, that was a lot of money.
Hell yeah.
And
at 11:37 while we sitting down, that's a lot of money.
yeah, you goddamn right. Let me take that back. I didn't mean it like that. Like I'm filthy rich. I didn't mean it like that. But I forgot where I done logged big. You done logged out. We lost again. What were we just talking about?
I don't know.
Royalty check.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
Thank you. She's younger.
A lot of people was offering me money, so I said, damn, if they gonna offer me that, I could probably make more. So I said,
Right.
you know what, I ain't getting ready. I said, nah, I'm cool. I don't want to do it, just to see why they offered me all this money. So I didn't understand the publishing or nothing. I wasn't thinking about it. I just wanted to do music. So when I seen the first check, I was like, shit, this is what I can make
Right.
by doing the stuff I'm doing? And I was just like, whoa. So I was like, I ain't doing nothing. But
Did you know you were?
that's what like made me realize that I'm really an artist. I'm really a producer. I'm really like in here in the same industry as Dre and NWA and Run DMC
Yeah,
and
man.
all of the artists that was before
Yes.
me. I'm finally in the same industry with these guys, so that right there let me know that you put in work, Warren. You official
Yeah,
now.
man.
And I came right home and bought me a 600 Benz.
There you go.
That's
With
part-
the top.
See how we do it? See how we do it? Did you own a house at that time?
I had 2 houses.
Oh, okay, there it is.
You're-
2 houses, 2 apartments. I had a condo right there in Century City. I had a house in Lakewood. I had a house in apartment in the Valley. I
All
had a
that
house,
unnecessary shit.
another house in Long Beach. It was a lot of stuff.
That's
I
part
bought
of
my
your
mama a house, bought her cars, all kind of stuff.
Off of music and a dream, bro.
Yeah.
That is part of your story of you saying like that's how you felt being an artist. That song for me is the song that made me fall in love with hip hop.
Which
How
one?
does-
Regulate?
Regulate.
Yeah, man.
How does that make you feel knowing that that song is so much a part of their lives?
And that's a lot of people first love
Yeah.
to hip hop.
It's incredible just to know, and to see and people come to you saying that was the that was the soundtrack
the
to my
song.
life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a trip. I ain't done yet.
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah,
at
man.
it.
You hear
but-
that and you were like, man, that was
but
just about me and my
it,
homeboy
but
talking
that
about fucking
feeling-
some girls. So
Yeah, man, that feeling it never go away. Like,
Yeah, man.
The feeling I always what gives me this incredible feeling and make me just say, you know what, I'm getting ready to just go bananas, is in the movie where it started right after Tupac when he, when at the end of Above the Rim and they showed Tupac and he did that little, and then all this, and then the boom, 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 boom. Oh, I felt so good, and just that feeling that the era of that time, just to have that feeling. And everybody feel the same way was just incredible, and it's still like that when I do my shows and when I'm up on stage, and it's a habit for me to do that chords string like I did in the video.
We brings,
and when I'm doing that, everybody doing the shit with me.
Hey, man, and you know what I love, man, is how when you do this DJ acapella at the end.
Oh yeah,
And that's how you walk off the stage.
yes indeed.
And hear the crowd give it back to you.
Oh yeah,
And then that picture, and then you walk off
oh yeah.
by yourself.
Yes indeed, yes indeed, yes indeed.
Warren G, for real, for false. I'm just gonna ask you some questions. If they for real, it's false for false.
Okay.
Big you out your mind. All right, now he created the phrase "these nuts."
True.
Yeah, man, for real.
For real, for real.
Yeah.
Legend.
So how did that? Yeah, man. How did these nuts come together?
It was a thing once again that we was doing, and I once again we working on the Chronic. I told Dre, I said, man, turn the mic on real quick. So he turned the mic on. I told him to start recording, and I called my homegirl and just called her just to have a conversation. And at the end of it, I was just like, hey, did what's your name them get at you? And she was like, who? And I was like, these nuts. And then she was like, oh, shut up, boy. Shut up. And that was the whole skit right there that set off. If I had some nuts on the wall,
Hey, man, she know that
Yeah.
that's her, right?
yeah, she.
So
know.
that's her legacy too. Like,
Yes,
girl,
indeed. That's my
man, you told
homegirl.
me these nuts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
She all up in the video.
Yeah,
all at the shows.
yeah, that's my own girl.
Hey,
Yes,
man,
indeed.
were you planning on, for real, for false, Warren G, were you planning on bailing out Tupac from,
For real, for real.
really?
Yes, indeed.
Explain that.
Well, I heard that he needed to be bailed out, so I was up in the Bay with Richie Rich, and Richie Rich and Pac was real tight, super tight up at that point. And me and Rich was tearing the town up, mashing through our trucks, parks, everything, wheeling them around. I had a stinking Lincoln on D's. We just all tearing the town up. And he told me what was going on, so I told him, I said, man, please get at Pac and tell him I will bail him out. I'll bail him out. And he ain't got to pay me shit. Just if you give me a feature, I'm cool. But I was going to give him the money to get him out. But Suge had beat me to the punch.
Damn.
But I swear to God on my mom, I was getting ready to send all that money to go get him out. Get him out.
And this is before you guys had a chance to work together?
No, we had worked together.
Yeah, worked, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we had worked together. So it was, and I had the money, know, and I didn't want him to be sitting in jail, so when Richie tell you, I told him straight up. He might have the letter that he wrote Pac and to let him know that I was trying to bail him out, and I think he was trying to get at Atron or somebody to make it happen because I was gonna bail him out. I didn't want nothing. Just
had you talked to anyone about that?
Nah, I ain't
so
never
great.
really.
So it was just like great minds thinking alike. It wasn't like somebody went to Suge and was like, "Oh man, Warren thinking about bailing him out."
I might have been talking too much or something. I don't know, but I was gonna send him the money. And
what was your relationship like with Pac?
We was cool.
Yeah,
we was cool. Just he like understood me back then, like the things that because I was going through some shit, and he really understood me. That's while we was working together, and we just kind of bonded right then and there. And he went through some stuff while we were working, and he took from what I was talking about to the things he just went through, and he created Definition of a Thug Nigga, and then he created How Long Will They Mourn Me just off that session.
What was he like in studio? Because you guys were working together when everybody wasn't emailing tracks, and you were in there.
Shit, I walked in, and he was just cool, just sitting there. The one of the beanies that had the little long,
like the A-hat thing.
Yeah, that little long thing on it, and he was sitting in there rolling, doing cutting a blunt up, putting some bud in the blunt, and we just started laughing and conversating off top, before we started working.
Did he work like how people say, like, man, he'd get in there and could knock a song out quick? Did you see that?
I witnessed it. Yeah. But what had me really charged up is he had some beautiful girls come up in there, and I had glasses on. My glasses was all broken stuff, so I was kind of embarrassed, but they were showing me a lot of love. Yeah, and I mean, he was so cool, and he asked me, he said, Warren, he said, pull something up, and I just had a bunch of discs, and I just started popping them in and playing them. So I popped in this one that was I think it was not Donny Hathaway, it was a Bird, God dog it, Donald Byrd sample, Wind Parade. It popped it in, and boom, 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 boom. He was like, I want that one right there. And I was like, okay, cool. So we had a conversation earlier. He took the beat and he just said, all right, I'm fixing to write. So he went in the booth, and he was in there. It had to be probably like 30 minutes. And he came back out, and he's like, I'm done. And he went back in the booth and recorded it, did some little bit more, and then he came back out, and then the engineer turned up the speakers because they had headphones on my head.
So you're not even knowing what's going on.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there while he doing that. I got my headphones on looking for some more music to play for him. So he came out, and they played it, and I was like, this nigga just said some of the stuff that I just told him about in the song. And he was like, Warren, I need you to put a hook on it, do a hook.
Oh.
So that's when I pulled my turntable, my mixer out, and I was, "Ipper, 'tis the season to be serving." Then I got the Richard Pryor, "Ipper, what you doing?" And then took Snoop voice, mobbing like a motherfucker. "Ipper, 'tis the season to be served. Ipper, what you doing?" Mobbing like a motherfucker. And then I started mixing that Nobody's Closing Me Out of My Business, the same record that I use on the skit on the Chronic. I started scratching that. No one's closing me out of my business. And that's how it ended.
And that's legacy.
Yeah, it was dope. We did that record at Echo Sound.
We celebrating 50 years of hip hop, bro.
Oh yeah.
And you are such a piece of that puzzle, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
thanks.
Not only the imprint of Def Jam, where Def Jam was at when you came along to Def Jam, and it, and keeping it real, it wasn't the heyday of Def Jam. It wasn't Public Enemy. It wasn't LL Cool J. It wasn't the Beastie Boys. It was like this guy from Long Beach is on this East Coast label, you know, what it felt like. But just what you have given to hip hop, the things that we know, the things that we don't know, the things that maybe you and I share, you know what I'm saying? But your contribution
you know, I
to this genre.
Venting like a motherfucker. Big boy probably like, more crazy.
Nah, man. You know what? I feel like you're not, because I'm like, how could this dude not tell the world his true story? You know what I'm saying? But I mean,
but some of that stuff we be talking about, I don't.
Oh yeah. Some of the stuff you can't say anyway. Yeah, I mean, come on now. But Warren, it's always a pleasure to have you in the neighborhood, man.
That's all good.
It's been beautiful watching your journey, and like I said, man, I met you before I got into radio. Yeah. You know, and I seen you at New Deal. You know, with John Singleton, rest in peace.
Yes, indeed.
Paul Stewart, and I remember at one point, man. I used to do phones back then. I used to hook up people's phones.
Yeah.
And I remember they was like, oh man, they was like, yeah, you know, my guy hook up phones. And you was like, man, I don't even have my phone right now. And I was like, man, well, let me know when you get it back. He was like, man, I gave it to some dude named Kurt got my phone.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm Kurt.
What?
And I was like, Warren, I don't have your phone. You know, but he gave it to somebody saying that, they got this guy that can hook it up. Then from there on, look at us now.
Look at
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
3 decades later, here we go.
Yes, indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, man, Warren G, thank you for coming into the neighborhood, man. Y'all stick around, y'all radios, Big Boy's Neighborhood.